Yeah, we're up to Samach Beis Amid Aleph, and the Mishnah had stated again in the sugya of Nedarim and what Lashon, what a person means. If a person would say at Sheyavar Kayitz until the end of the Kayitz is the harvest of Te'enim. You would harvest with your hands. Ashiyakpilu hamikzois is when they would fold away the knives. So the knives were used to cut the fig, not to cut the figs off the tree because the figs were handpicked. The anovim were cut by a knife, but once they made agulos, they would press the figs. They would have the knives to go ahead and cut the mold. So that we're up to the bottom of Tana Ashikula Roiv Hamikzois. When it says Yakpilu Hamikzois, the knives are folded away, it means the majority of the knives. Samach Beis Amid Aleph. Tana. Hook below Roiv Hamikzois. Once the Mikzois are folded up, Mutaris Mishum Gezel. At that period in time, the person is mafker what's in the field. At that point in time, the person is mafker what's in the field, and therefore anyone who came along could take it. It's not a problem of gezel. Upeturis min meiser, and since it's hefker, it's potter for meiser. That's what the Tanakhama says. And the Gemara is going to be a series of incidents. Rabbi, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, ikloyel hu asu. They came to this place. Bisman shehuklu roiv hamikzois. At the time where the majority of the knives have been folded away, so now it would be field. Right now, it would be permitted to go ahead and eat in the field. Rabbi Rabbi ate. Rabbi was not worried. Rabbi ate, and Rabbi Yosef Yehuda lo yachol. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, he did not eat, even despite the fact that the roiv of the knives have been folded away, which is a sign that it's hefka. He still didn't eat. Also, Marin came along, the owner of the field, and Amar Lahu, he said to Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, "Amai lo yachli, why don't you eat? Amai lo yachli rabbanon." So he's a lamdin. He's telling him, why are you Rabbi Yosef Yehuda? Why are you not eating? It's ready hefker. So Afal Pikain lo yachal. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, nonetheless, what he didn't eat because kasava mishum saniyos milsa hu dekama had then gavlet. The whole reason this person said it was because of he was sarcastic. If you look at Rashi at the Ran, excuse me, the Ran, mishum saniyos milsa hu dekama had then gavla. They royal lev. He was a bad guy. Loimak v'hitartem oisam latzvechem. You don't need me to tell you. You already mocked it for yourself, like he didn't really mean it, sarcastically. You didn't need enough. You didn't need enough figs, come on. So no, he was sarcastic about it, and he really didn't mean it. Rabbi Chama bar Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Chama bar Rabbi Chanina, Ikloilahu Asra came to this place. Bisman Shuklu Rav Mikzois, where already the Mikzois had been folded up, and Habikachel Yov l'Shamei lo yachol. He gave a shamus. The shamus did not eat. Amalei. Achol, you should go ahead and eat because Kach Amali Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi Mishum Aviv Hook Bulu Roiv Hamikzois Mutaris Mishum Gezel Mutaris Mishum Maisa, and there's nothing to worry about. Now Rav Tarfin Ashlehu Gavra Bisman Hook Bulu Hamikzois. Rav Tarfin was stressing away. Rav Tarfin was eating, the great Rav Tarfin, and the person saw him eating. And this was already after this man where it was permitted, but the owner of the field found him the kachol. He put him in a sack, the shakla, and he took him. And he was running to throw him in the river. He was going to throw the great Rav Tarfin in the river. So Amar, take out the word loy. Amar, Rav Tarfin said to himself, "Oy loy le Tarfin shazel hargai." What was the Tarfin that this person's going to kill him? Shama hu gavra. This person heard that it was Rav Tarfin. Shavke, he left him v'arik and he ran away. Amar Bavo Mishum Reb Chanina ben Gamliel. Kol yom shaloi said tzaddik. All the days of Tarfin in style davazeh. Amar oilish and ishtamashti bekisa shel Torah. Whoa, there is mashamash with the kesel of Torah. Like what exactly? This ma'isa is a mud ma'isa. Do you find someone eating in your field? You're going to go ahead and kill the guy. It's kind of hard to like it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's why would Reb Tarfin? What was he thinking? So we're going to see the Maisa gets a little clearer, right? Gets a little clearer as we go on. So he was very wealthy. We're going to see. We're going to see what happens. Anyone who goes ahead and is nekar, anyone who uses the kesed Torah will be uprooted from this world. Kal v'chaymer from Belshazzar. Uma Belshazzar, who was the last king of Bavel. Belshazzar was the last king of Bavel. He was the grandfather or the father of Vashti, and he We know what happened to him. He was poisoned. He was poisoned by his stewards. Now, what did he do? He took out the kelim of the Beis Hamikdash. Uma bal shatza shenishtamesh b'kli kodesh shenasu choyol. Belshazzar used the kelim of the Beis Hamikdash, and he made them choyol. Shenemar uvo boy pritzim b'chilalua, came along the pritzim, and they were mechalal it. Came along the pritzim, they were mechalal it. Kimashe portzum, since they were porats in the Beis Hamikdash, nasu choyol. Nasu choyol. So kal v'chaymer, what? A person who's using Torah. Now, how do you know that what nesa chol nakim in oil nechsiv ba balayla katel bal shatza? Right, that night he was killed. So look, just taking the Beis Hamikdash kelim, making them chol. Look what happened to him. Hamishtamish bekishur shel Torah shehu chay v'kayam la'olam alachas kama v'kama. Right, it's certainly so that what. That you're nekim in the oilam. So madach, where you're mishtamish with something that's kodesh, you make it choil. Use nekim in the oilam. Certainly, it's something that's eternally kodesh. Certainly, you're oikim from the world. Reb Tarfin, what? Keeping the koachol, the hukul Reb Miktzos have a amait sore hu gavra. Why did this person go ahead and bother him? That's Reb Tarfin did nothing wrong. The person he did nothing wrong. So why is he bothering him? So why is he bothering him? People were stealing from this person grapes the whole year round. They were stealing all the time. The keeping the ashkel of Tarfin, once he found Rav Tarfin Sava, the Ganvan, this is the person. So now, why was he feeling bad that he saved himself? The guy was going to kill him. Mishum the Rav Tarfin Asher Gadol, Havi was very wealthy, but Havi Faisa B'damim, and he should have gone ahead and appeased him with money. Okay, let's see the Ran fills in a little bit the blanks over here. Ihachi Reb Tarfin. Let's see the Ran. Ihachi Reb Tarfin. Amait Sir Nafshe. Now, Amit says the Ran Bishlema. Deloy Havi Kapir Ahu Gavra. This person wasn't makbid because it was hefker, because it's after this man of the knives being folded. Elahi Shaita. In other words, it's only makbid in that time. In other words, it was a one-shot deal. He found the guy eating. Umishamachi Havi Mitzayr. In other words, the guy finds him eating. Guys, what does he think? He's stealing, and they weren't Genevis all the time. It's a one-shot deal. A guy was trespassing on your property. He was eating, and now the guy's naturally upset. What should Rav Tarfin done? He should have told him the halacha is once the knives are folded, it's hefker. No, that's what he should have told him. And if he wouldn't listen to Rav Tarfin, the Lishnim Leyahu Porta, then he should have paid him what? The little bit of money that he ate. In other words, and everything went to end up in a sack in danger, right? If it was a one-shot deal. This guy was constantly being stolen from, and therefore what? What could he have done Rav Tarfin? My Habilei Lamevad Rav Tarfin. Should he have paid him all the amount of money the guy lost, not to go be mishtamish b'kisur shel Torah? Umaskina and the einachinami. That's what the Gemara is saying. Even the Asher Gadol have a sense of Tarfin. Why is the Gemara bringing in Rav Tarfin was so wealthy? He was being, why bring it in? And the answer is, since he had the wealth to pay him off, he should have done that rather than be mishtamish for the kesef of Torah. In other words, if he had gone ahead and it was a one-shot deal, so go ahead and pay him off a little bit. And if it was constant, then so l'chara, he should have told him, and the guy won't listen anyway. We're not worried about him not listening. He should have paid him off. Miyu dafka b'chiyai gavnehu da asar. Dafka in that case is an asar to go ahead and use the kesef shel Torah. We have another way out. Mishum da'ahu gavra adayin hayachayshtay u'lechavet hayrasay shenichu. And he was chayshid him, and he was chayshid that he was the ganif, and the only reason he let him go is why? Because of the kesef shel Torah. Avavade lifted ratzum to cover that Torah b'masha ena chayiv by shari. Go ahead and let yourself off the hook, and something you're not chayiv, that's permitted. Kidamin l'kamana, as we're going to see later on, shari l'tsum rabbon l'meima lo yavinu karga. I don't have to pay the head tax. The shari nami l'meima shari tigri bereisha. I should go on ahead and judge my court case first. Shekayoyse b'dor malalu zachs the Torah l'tim the chachamim. Being similar to that, the chachamim, the Torah does give the Talmud Chacham a right to. Kishem shezichs lo kahan levim shumas amaisus. In other words, the Talmud Chacham just like a Kohen gets truma and the Levium get Mises, the Talmud Chacham gets to cut the line in court, and he's able to go ahead and get taxes, can avoid taxes, parsonage, whatnot. It's the whatnot, so that's permitted. So the Ran goes ahead and fills in a little bit of the blanks. So here's the way around the Pshat in the Gemara, guys. We have Tarfin, the guy finds Rav Tarfin in the field, right? And this person, in fact, had been constantly stolen from. Therefore, he thought he was the Ganef. He took him and he was going to go ahead and kill him, right? He feeling that Reb Tarfon felt this way, and he said to himself, really to himself, vote to Reb Tarfon in the end. Like this, the guy realized it's not a Ganef. Reb Tarfon, he dropped him and ran away. Why are you bringing the fact that it was an Usher Gadol? Why are you bringing the fact that it was an Usher Gadol? Because that's the whole reason that Reb Tarfon was what? Mitzdayer. Since he could have avoided using the cover of Torah. He had a way out, right? And then in that instance, what? He should have gone ahead and used his great wealth to pay his way. What was your question, Rabbi Ross?
I heard this one time, maybe I'm wrong, I misunderstood it. That it was a pain on him that he's a guy, but he should never been in the field. He should that.
Again, he's allowed to be. But we see Rabbi was there. So I don't know what you heard. Again.
No, but the case of Torah was that he should never even been in the first place.
So why did they bring the Meister by Rabbi? Why didn't they bring the Meister by Rabbi? And Rabbi Yehuda earlier. Right. Why wait to Rav Tarfon? Anyway, what's the din of Misa over here? So the Maharsha learns Pshat that he wanted to scare him. He wasn't going to kill Rav Tarfon. He wanted to scare him. He wanted to scare him, right? The Maharsha said he was going to scare him. He was going to bring in and scare him. But again, he did use the Kesher Shel Torah. Now, okay, so that's the Maisa. The Ran explains the whole thing. Baruch Hashem. Okay, I think it's just since we always like to see the kesha sometimes between the daf and the day that has to be. I like some Rabbi Rosai loves. I think we have a classic over here. So I sent out two things today. I sent out a Gemara and I sent out a Maharsha. I sent out a Gemara and I sent out a Maharsha. We'll post it in a second. Where is this? Okay, here. This is the Gemara. Okay, the Gemara says the following. This is Gemara in Avodah Zarah. It's in Avodah Zarah Nun Beis. In the Beis Hamikdash, in the you walked in the Ezras Nashim, there were 4 chambers. The one chamber, the Mizrachis Tzefonius, the northeastern chamber, Boy Gonzu Beis Chashmonai. There the Chashmonaim hid as Avnei HaMizbeach. They hid the Avonim of the Mizbeach. Sheshakzu Anshe Yavan. The men of Yavan had gone ahead, and they brought chazer on the mizbeach. They were going ahead and they violated the mizbeach. So instead of the Gemara says the Gemara continues and tells us they couldn't kash in the mizbeach. What did they do? They broke it apart. But since it was kaddish, they hid it over there. They hid it in the northeastern chamber. Amra Papa Hasam Kra. They found the pasuk and said, "What's the reason?" Ashkich v'darish t'chsiv ubo pritzim. The Pritzim came in, the Chilalua. That's mamish the same Gemara, the same pasuk that we just brought over here. What by Balshatza? That he came along. Ubo Pritzim v'Chilalua. The Pritzim came. The Balshatza, the Chevra, the Nebuchadnezzar. They came Machal the Kalim. Over here they were Machal Mizbeach. So now, what's the connection between? So here's I put on the screen, and look at the second one. There should be a second thing over there, right? And the Maharsha is asking, it's going on my Chanukah. It says what's Chanukah? My Chanukah. It says what's Chanukah? Upirish Haran Klaimar. Chanu b'chafhei. Chanukah means lashon chanu b'chafhei. They relaxed b'chafhei. Ayin sham. K'tzas kasha. Says the Maharsha, it's a little shver. Ma chaniya shayachacha. Right? But what's chaniya? What's the rest on Chanukah? The hutra boy malacha, you're allowed to work on Chanukah. The whole purpose of Chanukah is the halal l'hoidais. V'nir lefarish, says the Maharsha, the nikra Chanukah not because Chanu b'chafei al shem Chanukas hamizbeach. It's called Chanukah because of the Chanukah of the Mizbeach. It was the first time they used the Mizbeach. The Armino Perik Rabbi Shmuel, which we just said, that was the Perik in Avodah Zarah. That the base Chashmonoim Gonzu Avnei Mizbeach, the Chashmonoim who were victorious of the Greeks, they hid the Avanim Mizbeach. Sheshakzu Anshe Avdei Galilim La Avodah Zarah. For Hutzich Libnois Mizbeach, and they had to build what Mizbeach Chodesh. They had to build what a new Mizbeach. Ulakach Nikra Chanukah. It's called Chanukah. V'loy Kama Hacha Ma'ich. Okay, so it's called Chanukah because Chanukah is Mizbeach. In fact, it's put down the halacha. The reason why there's a shtick simcha, there's big shayla. We know by Purim there's an Indian of simcha, right? Shayla is there a din of simcha, a sudas mitzvah on Purim, and the day that there is because of Chanukah's hamizbeach. There's Chanukah's hamizbeach. So now, v'loy kama hacha my Chanukah elamei eza nes kavu. The shayla is which nest with the kaveya Chanukah, lahadlik by neiros gam, right? So to go ahead and light the neiros. That was the shayla that they were. What did I do over here? The Mishkan guys was finished in Chafei Kislev, like Chanchua ad Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and they didn't go ahead and started using it Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Because the Avos were born in Nisan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shilem loy b'mei Matisyahu. He paid them back b'mei Matisyahu. In other words, guys, when was the Mizbeach really finished? It was really finished in Chafei Kislev. How come we waited to Nisan in order to pay back the Avos? That was the first time it was used. Because Baruch Hu said there'll be a time in the future where what? You'll go ahead and bring a new Mizbeach. You know what time that was? That was b'mei Matisyahu. So it's fascinating. It's a fascinating drush over here, guys. We have an unbelievable Gemara today, right? Speaking about being machalo, they hid the mizbeach, the stones in mizbeach. They were mischalel, mamish on Chanukah, mamish on Chanukah. And they managed to have it on Zeis Chanukah. Such an unbelievable pshat. I think it's very, as always, it's the daf speaking to us. Right? It's always
the lady is always so the lady ends the
yeah, right. You're exactly so right. So I think it's just it's again a fantastic, but there's never such thing as it's coincidence. It's just amazing that the daf on this day would bring this in. And it's a good mashal to know. Guys, mashal is in Shabbos, after Shabbos stuff Aleph. It's a good mashal to know. Okay, the Gemara is in the base in Avodah Zarah. Says the Gemara Vaita. Who gavra Tanya la'aba es Hashem Elokecha l'shmoya b'koiloi u'davka by the pasuk says to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to listen to His voice and to cling to Him. Shelo yomar adam. Person should say, Ekra Shekruni Chacham. I should learn to be Kadesh B'Gol Chacham. Eshna Shekruni Rebbe. Eshna Shei Yizakin. V'I should be Yeshiva. Not for covet. Elo Lamad. You should learn me Ava from love. The Sefer cover love. And covered is going to come to you eventually. Shnemar says Koshrem al Etzbosecha. It's tied to your fingers. Kosrem al Luach Libecha. V'im Dercher Dachinoyam. V'im Eitzchem Yilam Achazikim Ba. Samchem Usha. So let's connect this together. Let's see the Ran. First, the Ran says, "Koshem al etzboisecha klaimar." Like the chavin lana oscha. When it comes to Torah, don't be mechaber for yon hana. Ela kadeshi shagurim beficha, that it should be clear in your mouth. V'hoisav al zeh, and it says, now what's the oimer? V'oimer, it says, odneim al gargosecha, it should be entwined in your throats. V'yachkach chaviraya sheseifa kavod lavoi shnemar dercher dachinoam v'omer v'samcheha meusha. Those are taimich Torah musha. They'll be what? They'll be Musha, they'll be fortunate. So that the last part of the pasuk is that you're going to be fortunate as a result of learning Torah for the right reasons. Rabbi Lezer Tzaddik back in Rabbi Lezer Tzaddik Oimer. I say Devarim l'shem Pa'alam. Do your things for Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? The Pa'alam is Kadosh Baruch Hu who instructed you. V'tziv aleim v'daber behem l'shmam. Al taseh Torah l'skadol behem. Don't use Torah as a means of glorifying yourself. Al tasem kardom lios oideba. Don't make it an axe to go ahead and do a mlacha with. The Ran says, the Rosh, says, don't use Torah as a means of making parnasa. That's not a problem because trust me, it's not a parnasa. What? Uma bal shatza shloi nishtamish ela b'kli kodesh shenasu kli choil the same nekem in the olam hamishhtamish b'kis shel Torah lachas kam b'kama amarava shorle l'inshi lo idea nafshe ba'asrud lo yodolei. It's a person's permitted if he's a Talmud Chacham to let himself be known in a place they didn't know him. The Chsiv, it says va'abdecha yorias Hashem menurav, that Avadia tells Eliyahu, your Eved has served Hashem from his youth. In those, so you see that one's permitted to go ahead and inform other people. If you look at the Rosh says that they should, it's for the purpose that, in other words, if the person doesn't know it's Talmud Chacham, maybe Misalzlin is covered, right? I told you my Rebbe's at Sal, he would go on vacation and he would sign as Mr. Zev. He never said he was a rabbi. He never told him his full name. He called himself Mr. Zev. So he went to a hotel for I think a few years in a row, and they began to wonder, how's it possible that he remembered every year the person's name? It was the guy, and he remembered everyone's name, an unbelievable memory. He remembered the names from years before, but he would sign in. It's Israel Gustman. I still remember. Never rabbi, just Israel, Mr. Zev or Israel Gustman. He never said his name who he was. He never said who he was. Anyway, over here it's mashma that you have to that people shouldn't be mezalzel. I know. I told you the story once with Jack Shelby's father. Jack Shelby's father was he was the one responsible for Victor Miller's tapes. All the tapes from Rabbi Miller, he was the one to put them out. So he heard there's a person, Moshe Feinstein. He wanted to meet him. So he went to the east side to daven, and after davening, he said this. Where's Rabbi Feinstein? They pointed out Rabbi Moshe. And he said, "Oh no!" He said, Moshe came over to him before davening and stuck his hand down, and he gave him a quarter. and Moshe took it, and it's godless. Moshe took it. That's embarrassing. Moshe took it. It was, to me, that his need is so unbelievable. So I guess Moshe didn't tell anyone who it was either, right? Anyway, Moshe Feinstein. Okay. Elakasha the Rav Tarfin, right? Elakasha Rav Tarfin. So l'chayra, if a person, guys, is able to go ahead, if you can tell someone who you are, that should be mizalzel. So Rav Tarfin, l'chayra, to save his life, why was he considered to be mishnamish with what? With the the answer. The answer is the ashel gadol haya. I will fight the bedamim. It's an ashel gadol. Really the ran is not even garbage to kasha because it's not a kasha like the ran, because again. The whole kasha is when you don't have another way out. Rabbi asked the steer. Ksiv, it says, "Va'abdecha yorias Hashem urav." That's what Avadia said. So you notice you can inform someone who you are. Ksiv, ya'alelcha zar v'leipicha. Let your own mouth, let a zar, a foreigner, praise you. V'leipicha, mashmi. You should tell anybody who you are. It says, no problem. In a place where they know who he is, then he shouldn't say anything. In a place where they don't know who he is, then that he shouldn't be mezalzel. You should tell people who you are. Amarava. Sharele tzumar rabbanon. It's permitted for a tzumar rabbanon. Lemeima tzumar rabbanon not to say that I'm a yom talmid chacham. Sharele tigrei bereisha. Therefore, you go ahead and my court case should be judged first, right? Right. I think you worry about bittul Torah. If you look at the Rush says, "Paskli dina kadesh leit tisbatna milimudai." That it shouldn't be bottled from milimudim. Therefore, pasking my case first. Paisu says, "Claim a pasuk din shalit chila." Just says he doesn't say why. I don't know. He doesn't say why. Okay, but it's similar to a kahanim, as we're going to see. It's very similar to kahanim. The chsivu bnei David kahanim hayu. It says it's bnei David were kahanim. Now David was from Yeshiva Yehuda, right? David was from Yeshiva Yehuda. So what does it mean that they were kahanim, right? Kahanim hayu. They weren't kahanim. Hello, ma koyin noitel baroish av talmid chacham noitel baroish. The koyin minole. How do you know the koyin gets first dibs? The chsiv b'kidashtoi ki eslechem elkechu makriv. B'tanei v'shmo b'kidashtoi l'chol davar shebekdusha. Amid beis, any davar shebekdusha, the koyin comes first. The Torah Barishon get called up to the Torah first. Ulevarech Barishon by benching is called first. Alita money yafa barishan. If you have, let's say, two partners or two guys that cut up a piece of steak, so the kohen gets the better piece of steak, or to choose the better piece of steak. Amar Rabbi Sharli Tzum Rabban Lameimar Lo Yahivna Akarga. I won't pay the tax. The chsiv. This is a pasuk in Ezra. It says Minda baloi v'halach leShalit leMimrim Aleihem. The Yavash is commanding the leader of Eva Hanahar, and he's giving different types of taxes. Lememra to say lemimra aleihem, leShalit lemimra aleihem. Do not go ahead and on the Anshe Knesset Gedalu, do not make them pay this. So you see, a Talmid Chacham doesn't have to pay the tax. Now we're going over the different taxes. Amar Yehuda, Minda Zum Minas Hamelech, that's the land tax. Biloi the Kesef Gogolota, that's the head tax. Halach the Anoina, that seems to be a tax for the king's suda. When king would travel, you have to pay for the suda. Of the denura ana, he's able to say, I worship what? I worship a fire god. So it's a very strange Gemara. So in other words, the Ran says he's really saying, I'm an Eved Kodesh Baruch Hu Shenira Eish Eichla, who appears as a fiery, it's like one of these, you're using a lashon that to people might mean one thing, but it means something else. Right? If you look at the Ran, guys, of the Nurana, of Eved Leish Shu Koyin Eish. I'm a servant of a man who's a koyin to the fire worshippers. Sha'avad of Petur Mikarka, because the fire worshippers, they were put from paying this tax. That is not Moedav Avodah Zarah. The Muchav Milsad Layamahachi Elef Turi Mikarga. The whole reason he said it was to get off to avoid the tax man. The Chikamet Sumar Rabbanon Revusa Kamar. That field Sumar Rabbanon Sharla. Even a Talmid Chacham would say that Lanei Mahachi. The Hain Sfurim Avodas Kechavim. They think that he's serving Avodah Zarah. Who Libo Shemayim. However, his labor to Shemayim Kedechsiv Hashem Lakecha Eish Eichlahu. Kodesh Baruch Hu is an Eish Eichla. So in other words, he says one thing, it means another thing. Anochi Eish Becherecha. Right, the same thing over here. That means that you could say that to avoid the tax. Back in the Gemara. My time. Oh, what's the reason? Lavruchi Aryamina. It's just chasing away the lion. Come on. Ravashi Havleyahu Abba. He had his forest. His Abba Benura. He would sell it to the people who would serve this fire god. Said Ravina Ravashi, how could you sell them logs after all? Most of the eitzim are not for the purpose of serving this Avodah Zarah, but really for firewood for fuel. Says the Mishnah, if a person says, I'm kind of from Yayim out of Kotzer. Now again, just to reiterate, Kotzer is the harvest, Batzer is grapes, Masik is figs. So in other words, it's all mean harvesting, but it's for different types of things. So a person says out of Kotzer, it says Achiyaska la'om liktzar. It's when the people begin cutting. Ktsir chitim, wheat. We know the earliest harvest, guys, is barley. Barley is the first thing that's why you bring on carbon from barley. And we bring the shtei lechem from chita, which is the harvest is Shavuos time, which is 49 days later. So out of kotzer does not mean the barley, it means the kotz ktsir chitim. Avloi ktsir soirim. In other words, so it means it's a farther, the neder is a longer neder. It's 49 days after the first one. Hakolafi hamakam, everything goes according to the place. So most people, when they say kitsir, they mean kitsir chitim. Right? In fact, soirim was food for animals. Hakolafi makam nidroi. Imhoya bahar. Now they would go ahead in the valley would go ahead and harvest earlier than the mountain. Imhoya bahar. If he's in the har and he makes it bahar, and even if he gets to the valley and they're harvesting the valley, he still has to wait till a later time. Imhoya bebika. It makes the neder not to drink water out of geshamim. Now there are 3 periods of rain. It means achayu geshamim, acheteri or achayu geshamim, either one. Until the second rain comes down. Not the first rain, the second rain, not the third rain. You don't even need the rain to come down, but it means the time of the second rain. You make an edit until the sham stop. That means when Nisan, you can drink wine, you have to wait till Nisan's gone. Pesach, or a little earlier. Tanya. That's in the north, in the mountains. Then he goes down to the valley. Even though the harvest has come in the valley, usher. It's usher to go ahead and drink wine. Actually, kayetz begolul till it goes ahead and reaches the earlier time. Okay, until it reaches the earlier time. Now, let's do the Ran. Ada Geshamim, the second word line. Ada Geshamim in the Mishnah. Achiyu Geshamim Acheteri Revia Shnia. Gimel Zmanim Hein Shal Geshamim. There are time periods of rain for rain. Three time periods. The Chol Zman Kori Revia. Each one is called Revia. Revia is a lashon, guys, of bestiality. Revia is the lashon of znus. Al Shem Shal Geshamim Roiftzim Ala Aretz. The Geshamim, they lie on the Aretz. Getani, the mitzvah Yitzasat to drink wine at Sheteri Revia Shnia until the second period of the wine of the rain. Mishin the stama Shnia mashma. Stama, when a person says rain, it means the second period. She'enim makdem is called kafka Revia Rishayna. It's not too early like the first period of rain. Blema acheres called kach, and it's not so delayed keshlishas like the third period. Miu leiboy at shetavay. You don't have to wait till it's over. I feel kiyama at sheyu geshamim. You don't have to even you say at sheyu geshamim mishum shein zman kavua. You don't have to wait at shetava until it passes, but until you reach the time, that's the man kavua. And Rav Shimon says that shegiyas man shalovia after bishlo yoda. Tanakama requires the rain to come down. Rav Shimon says no. Adayin Srile, the kivin, the ainli ridasa is man kavua, since there's no set time period. Shahari lefomim ma'acheres leirei. Sometimes it's delayed in coming down. Amina the bizmani ridasa chal nitroy. Lebi ridasa mamish kach near be'inai. So that's what the man says. Okay, good to have everyone back. Have a good evening.